Hello to you all and welcome to Pure Yoga. We're going to be doing some hamstring work today, and it's a full practice for the hamstrings. We're going to do a little bit of strengthening work, but a lot of stretch work. So if you can grab hold of a strap or a belt off a dressing gown or just a normal belt, but make sure it hasn't got any stretch in it, and grab hold of some blocks if you've got them. If you haven't got blocks, you can always use either books or bean cans, anything that's the same height. And we're going to use them to bring the floor a little bit closer to us. So we're going to start working on the back first. So come down onto the back, make sure you've got your strap with you or whatever you're using in a replacement, and just bring the heads down to the floor. Just place the strap or whatever you're using onto the belly. Straighten out both legs, turn the palms up, widen the legs to the width of the mat, and just take a few moments here, laid on the back, just connecting with your start of practice, connecting with your body and having a scan of it, witnessing it laying here on the floor this morning, this evening or lunchtime, whatever time you're choosing to practice, just making sure you're present with the time of day and the place that you're practicing in. It's just you, your mat, your equipment for the next 45 minutes of those hamstring stretch and strengthening. As you close the eyes and scan that body, just checking in with any tight spots, anything that doesn't feel particularly comfortable today. As you move around the mat, just make sure you're mindful of how you move. When you've taken that scan of the body, just bring your focus to your own natural automatic breathing pattern and just not trying to change it, just watching it. Just noticing whether you're taking a deep breath, a shallow breath. Making no judgment of whatever breath you're taking right now. Just noticing when you go to your breath and the thoughts of your breath, how that sits before you start to change it. If that breath is quite shallow, start to send it a little bit deeper. Take it in for a longer count and out for maybe an even longer count out. Maybe just give those hips a little rock from side to side. Just massage that lower back before we start getting into some work. If you want to connect with that Ujjayi breath, that slight restriction at the back of the throat, using the nose only, feel free to go for that. It's a warming breath. If you want to just use the breath in and out through the nose and the mouth, also okay, but the true yogic breathing is in and out through the nose, a good cleansing breath. So start to bring the feet together at the bottom of the mat and start to bring those knees into a bend and then in towards the chest. Just give those knees a squeeze. I'm just going to make some circles with the knees, but taking them slightly apart as we make the circles. So keeping the feet together, open the knees out wide and then send them away from the body. And then as they've gone as far as they can, start to bring the knees back together and back into the chest. Open the knees out, send them away from the body, bring the knees back together, and then knees back towards the chest. 2 more of those. Feet stay together all the time. The knees are just opening as you send them away and closing them as you bring them back. 1 more time in this direction. And then bring them back in towards the chest. Opposite way, so send the knees away closed, and at the bottom of the stretch, open the knees out and bring the knees back in towards the chest. Still keeping those feet together. Send the knees away, open the knees out wide and bring the knees back towards the chest. 2 more of those. Send the knees away, open the knees out wide, bring the knees back back towards the chest. One more. Knees send away. Open the knees out wide. Bring the knees back towards the chest and bring the knees back together. Take a hold of the knees by wrapping the arms around if you can reach, and just rock that body from side to side. Just giving that upper spine and mid-spine a little more of a massage now. The lower spine's probably lifted away from the mat. And then bring that to a stillness. Take a hold of your strap and thread your right foot through and just place it on the ball of the foot. Straighten out your left leg, and we're going to go into stretch and then back into bend. So send that right heel up and then bring that knee back to a bend. So we're doing 5 of these. Send the heel up, bring that knee back into a bend. So slowly waking up those hamstrings. Send the heel up, bring the knee back into a bend. As we slowly waken those hamstrings, they'll start to trust us as we're working with them, strengthening and stretching them. This time as you send the heel up, hold it in stretch. Try and bring the toes a little more back towards the shins and push the heel up towards the ceiling, engaging the upper thigh to straighten that right knee. All the time, keeping active through those left toes as that left leg is being supported by the floor. And then try and squeeze the shoulder blades into the mat to give a little space across that chest. And keeping that leg in full stretch, we're going to take the left hand out to the side as a counterbalance and start to send that right foot out to the right side of the mat, taking it as low as you can. I have come in contact with my furniture, so hopefully you've given yourself some space around you, just to get that inner thigh stretch on that right leg. Holding it here for a few more breaths. Try not to let that lower back arch too much. Keep a little bit of core engagement through that centre line. So feel like you're tethering those ribs and those hips. Your next breath in, bring that right leg back up to centre. Take a bend into that knee. Feed now your left foot into the strap and straighten out your right leg onto the floor, keeping a bend in that left knee for a moment, holding onto the strap with either both hands or one. Bend and stretch. So stretch out and take it back into a bend. Stretch back out, back into a bend. 3 more on this side. Stretch back out. Again, making happy hamstrings is a really good place to have your body in. Hamstrings causes a lot of problems throughout the day. This time when you take it into stretch, hold it in that place. Stay nice and active through both sets of toes, both left toes and right toes. Engaging the upper left thigh to straighten that leg up a little more. The toes of the left foot back towards the shins a little further and push that heel up to the ceiling as much as possible. So keeping a hold of the strap in the left hand, send your right hand out for a counterbalance, and then slowly start to lower that left leg down to the left side of the mat, taking that opening through the inner left thigh. Trying to keep that right sit bone grounded as much as you can. If that right sit bone starts to lift, maybe lift that leg up a little higher. And you can always support with that left elbow as that leg is probably just hovering slightly off the floor, or maybe it's quite high up. Depends what range of movement you've got on that inner left thigh, on how low that leg goes. Just another couple of breaths here. The chest should be facing up, the hips should be facing up, nothing rolling to that left side except for that left leg. And then bringing that left leg back up, really engaging those inner adductors to lift that left leg back towards the ceiling. We're going to take it on both legs now, so feed your right foot into the strap to join the left one. We're going bend and straight with both legs, so take a bend into the knees and then straighten back up, engaging the upper thighs to straighten as much as possible. Bend back into the knees and straighten back up. Straighten through the legs, bend back into the knees. Push the heels up, just 2 more to go. Bend and stretch. Last one, this time we're going to hold and stretch. Maybe walk the hands a little further up the strap if you can, and then try and draw the feet so the toes come either over the eye gaze or a little further, with the legs as straight as possible, and that's lower tailbone as much grounded to the floor as you can. One more breath here. Keep those heels pushing up and the toes drawing back. Maybe you find those minimal movements just to go a little deeper. And then take a bend into both knees, release the strap. You can place the strap at the side, it's the last thing we're using it for today. So bringing the feet down to the mat with the knees still bent, feet flat, we're going to take it into a hamstring strengthener in our bridge. So feet hip width apart, toes in front of the heels, knees hip width apart. I want you to take yourself into just a straight bridge, not an extension bridge. And as you find that straight line from the shoulders to the knees, the chin tucks in slightly to give some space across the back of the neck. And then I want you to feel like you're drawing those heels back towards the bum, almost like you're dragging the heels along the mat, but they don't move. And you'll feel some hamstring strengthening coming into those legs. Now, quite often when you first do this, it can go into a little bit of cramp. If that's the case, just release back out, lower the bum back to the mat, and then come back into it and find that strengthening again. So it's almost like you're trying to drag those feet towards the shoulder blades. Knees don't come any further than hip width apart. Maybe you lift the toes and drag the heels back. One more breath here. Then release that activation and bring those hips back down to the mat. Maybe just have a little rock of the knees from side to side. We're going to take it back into that again. Bring the knees back to centre. Lift the hips up to that straight line of bridge. And then take that activation of the legs again, feeling like you're drawing those heels back towards the shoulders, but they don't move. We're just pushing them into the mat, dragging them back. Just hold it here just for another couple of breaths. And then lower those bums back to the floor. Bring the knees back in towards the chest. Maybe just straighten and bring them back into a bend. Just do that a couple of times, just to soften those hamstrings back off. And then cross the feet over, and then just rock yourself up. Tuck your feet under or swing the legs around. Bring yourself in to a tabletop position, taking hold of one of your blocks and placing that block in the crease of the knee. We're going to try and hold on to that block by taking a bend a little deeper into the knee, so we're squeezing the calf in towards the thigh again. So we're going to do leg lifts here with the squeeze of that block, so we try not to let go. If it's a bank beam, can just push it into the crease of the knee. So weight comes into your left knee, and we raise the right leg up to hip high, then lower it back towards the mat, then open it out to the side Lower it back towards the mat. Lift it back and up. Back towards the mat, also squeezing that block out to the side. And back towards the mat. So we're going to do 2 more of these. Lift up. Try and knock that lower back arch out to the side. Back to the mat. 1 more both directions. Lift the knee up and back. And lift the knee up and out to the side. And bring it back to the mat. Swap the legs. So now bring the block into that left leg and squeeze that left foot towards the bum. Weight this time comes into the right knee. Raise the knee back up and lift. Try not to arch the lower back. And then up and out to the side. Lower back to the mat. 3 more of those. Lift up and back. Lift up and out. 2 more. Up and back. Up and out. 1 more. Up and back. Up and out. Release that knee back down. Swap the block now into the right leg again. Bring a squeeze of that block, foot towards the bum. Turn your left foot off the mat, left hand reaches slightly further forward. Roll on to your left side. Reach your right hand forward to the front of the mat. Squeezing that block still. On your out breath, elbow to knee. Keep the squeeze of the block. In breath out. Squeeze of the knee back in. So the leg doesn't straighten or she'll lose the block. Back out. 2 more. Squeeze it in. All the time working hamstring strength because we're trying to keep the block held in that space. The last one. Bring your right hand down, right knee down, and then swap the sides onto the left side. Squeeze that left foot into the bum, take your right foot off the mat, right hand slightly further forward, roll over, left hand forward, out breath, elbow to knee. In breath, lengthen. Out breath, elbow to knee. In breath, lengthen. 2 more. Out breath, elbow to knee. In breath, lengthen. Out breath, elbow to knee. In breath, lengthen. Bring your left hand back down, left knee back down. Remove the block from behind the back of that left knee, and then just bringing both blocks or both bean cans just in front of you. Bringing the hands onto them, and then stepping yourself back into a plank, and then lifting the hips and squeezing those heels back. First down dog, have a little paddle of those feet, nod, shake of those heads. Bring those heels to a stillness. Come forward to a plank position, and then just let the hips lower and the chest lift. Come back to down dog. Squeeze the hamstrings and the glutes to lift the hips back, and take it back to down dog. So we have 3 more of those. Forward to a plank, and then just let the hips lower. Lift the hips, squeeze the glutes, the hamstrings to take the hips back up high. 2 more. Forward, let the hips lower. Lift the hips back up and back to down dog. 1 more to go. Forward, working some strength through the shoulders as we're working the stretch and the strengthening of the hamstrings. Lift the hips and squeeze the heels back. Walk the feet towards those blocks, and when you come to the front, if those blocks are still a little low, turn them onto the higher height. And then just allow the body to fold over those thighs, keeping the legs as straight as you can hold them. Feet are probably slightly in from hip width apart. Let the head hang. Breath in, half lift. Breath out and fold back over those legs. Breath in, lift, half lift. Breath out, fold back over those legs. 2 more, breath in, lift. Breath out, fold back over those legs. Breath in, half lift. Start to walk the feet back to where they came from, to your down dog, still holding on to those blocks or bean cans or books. Just make sure they are the same height. And then we're going to walk the blocks back towards the feet. Keeping those legs as straight as you can. When they get back to the feet, breath in, half lift. Breath out and fold. Breath in, half lift. Breath out and fold. Breath in, lift, half lift. And fold. Using the breath to maybe go a little deeper into those folds. Breath in, last one, half lift. Breath out and fold. Come back to a half lift. Start to walk the blocks back to where they came from, towards the front of the mat. Lift the hips, squeeze the heels back. Then walking the feet towards the front of the mat. Keeping the legs as straight as you can. If you need to higher the blocks, take them onto the highest height. Weight comes into your left foot, keeping the hips level. Raise the right leg up and back. Squeezing the hamstrings, squeezing the glutes to lift that leg. Activating that right thigh to keep that right leg as straight as we can. Holding it in our warrior 3 with support of the blocks. Chest is in as long a line as you can possibly take. You may want to challenge it here a little bit, maybe take your left hand back. If that feels comfortable and you want to try your right hand, send your right hand back towards that right hip. Only an option, not a necessity. You should feel a really good stretch down that left hamstring. Bring the hands back to the blocks. And then lift that right foot in towards the bum. And then just bring the right knee to meet the left. Keeping that right foot squeezing to activate that hamstring. Squeeze it as tight as you can. That heel back towards that right bum cheek. One more breath. And then release that right leg back to the floor. Take a little paddle through the feet. You'll know that right leg has done some strength work and you'll know the left leg has done some stretch work. Okay, bringing it to stillness. This time your weight comes into your right leg. As you send your left leg back, keeping the hips nice and level, keeping the activation of that left thigh to keep the left leg straight. Heels pushing away, left toes back towards the shins, squeezing the glutes and the hamstrings to keep that leg lifted. Hamstring stretch down the right leg now. Choice to stay stable on the block or release the right hand to the right hip. And if you found that and you feel comfortable with balance, left hand to the left hip. Not holding the balance for too long. Feel that stretch down that right leg, the activation through the left leg. Bring your right hand back to the block, your left hand back to the block. Bend that left knee in towards left foot to bum cheek. And then let the left knee drop towards the right knee, keeping that left foot squeezing back towards that bum. little bit more activation through that left leg, and then release that left foot back to the floor. Take a paddle through the feet, release the blocks to the side, step yourself back to plank, and lift the hips, down dog. Push those chests back, gaze back towards the toes. If you want to still paddle the feet here in the hamstring stretch of down dog, feel free to go there. Come down onto the knees, bring your right foot through, in between the hands, grab the blocks again. Maybe you want to take them to the highest height or the lowest height. If you've got bin cans, obviously you've only got one choice. Tuck the back toes under, and then find pyramid pose. So the left heel is squeezing back towards the mat. We're pushing nice and energetically into the sole of that right foot, particularly the big toe mount. Bend into your right knee, and then send it back, straightening your right leg and bend into your left knee. 3 more in both directions. Bend your right knee, straighten the left. Bend your left knee, straighten the right. Right knee bends, left leg straightens, and send it back. 1 more both sides. Right knee bends, left leg straightens. Left knee bends, right leg straightens. And then straighten both legs out. Breathe in, elongate the spine. Breathe out, fold over that right thigh. Have a nod, have a shake of the head as you're holding that hamstring stretch down, particularly the right leg, but you will feel it a little in the left as well. But that may be a little lower into that calf and Achilles on the left side rather than the upper hamstring like we've got on the right leg. Holding it just for another breath. Maybe you're still up here, so long as you can feel the stretch, you're doing the right thing. Come up to a half fold. Step your left foot to meet your right foot, and then step your right foot back, and your left foot stays forward. So opposite sides, we're going into bend and stretch. So bend into your left knee, the right leg stays straight. Bend into your right knee and we straighten the left. 3 more both directions. Right knee bends, left leg straightens. 2 more. Last one. Then back into straighten both legs. Take a breath in, lengthen through the spine, and on your out breath, fold over that left thigh. All the time encouraging your left hip back, your right hip forward, and pushing into the big toe mount of that left foot. Keeping that left leg as straight as possible without any hyperextension, just a micro bend into that leg. So if you're using bean cans, blocks are really quite a cheap alignment tool, which you can get from many sports shops. So you could purchase these and make the practice a little easier. It's not a huge investment, probably a tenner for 2. 1 more breath in this position. And then bend back into the left knee, just let the blocks be placed either side. Step your left foot back, lift the hips, down dog. Have a little nod and a shake of the head. A little paddle through the feet if that's where you wish to go to. And then coming down onto the knees, bring your right foot through, in between the hands. Take a hold of 1 block. Bring it to the inside of the right foot, tuck the back toes under, lift the left knee, then drop the left heel down internally. Right hand comes and right elbow comes to the inside of the right knee, left hand to the shoulder, turn the shoulders. We're going to straighten out and bend back into that right knee. So straighten out, we find triangle pose, reach the left arm up, bend back into that right knee to side angle legs. Straighten the right leg, triangle, and bend back into that right knee to side angle stretch. 2 more. And bend. Last one. And bend. This time trying to keep the right leg straight to hold a triangle pose, and you'll feel that hamstring stretch down the back of that right leg. Maybe the gaze can go up towards that left thumb. Push energetically into both feet, the outside edge of the left foot and the sole of the right foot. If you want to make it a little stronger triangle, release the hand from the block. So you're then just holding the weight of the torso rather than having that support with hand on block. One more breath here. And then bend back into the right knee, bring both hands down either side of that right foot, place the block to the side, step your right foot back, lift the hips down, dog. Maybe paddle through those feet if that makes those hamstrings a little more comfortable. Come down onto the knees, bring your left foot through in between the hands, tuck your back toes under, lift the back knee and then drop the right heel to the inner edge of the mat. Block comes into the inside of the left foot and place your hand onto the block, left elbow to the inside of the left knee. Right hand comes to the shoulder, turn the shoulders and then straighten up with that left knee, right hand reaches to the ceiling. Bend back into that left knee and then straighten. 3 more of those. Bend and straighten. Try not to go into hyperextension when you straighten. Bend and straighten. 1 more. Bend and then straighten. Hold it in your triangle pose. Maybe your gaze goes up towards that right thumb. Maybe you keep that support on the block, or you remove the hand from the block and bring it to the inside of that left thigh, left shin. Keeping the chest turned to the right side of the room, micro-bending that left knee. Feel that hamstring stretch down that left leg. One more breath here. And then take a bend back into that left knee. Remove the block to the side. Step the left foot back. Find down dog for a breath. And take a paddle of those feet. Okay, come back onto the knees. Bring your right foot through in between the hands. Maybe take a hold of both blocks. Take the toes to tuck up the left and lift the left knee. And then turn yourself around to the left side of the mat and bend into the right knee and turn the left toes up towards the ceiling. Left hamstring stretch in a side lunge. So hands can stay on the block, or if you want to find a balance here, bring the hands to the chest and just find a focal point in front of you. Something that's not moving. Shoulders stacking over the hips. Keep that balance. Holding it for just a few more breaths. Stretching that inner left thigh, left hamstring. Bring the hands back to the blocks. And then walk yourself to the back of the mat. Bend this time into your left knee and straighten your right leg. So you can keep supported on the blocks if you wish. Shoulders lift, or bring yourself into that balance. Feel the inner right thigh stretching, the hamstring stretching. So these hamstring stretches will feel really good after a day in the office, if you're a runner, if you're a cyclist. So all these things cause hamstring problems. Or even if you're just not so active and you sit down quite regular, those knees are constantly in a bent position in seated. And therefore that brings us problems with those hamstrings. So really good for pretty much everybody to do. Bring the hands back to the blocks and then walk yourself back to the front. Place the blocks down either side of the mat. Step your right foot back, lift the hips, down dog. Squeeze those heels back. So we're coming down onto the knees and make your way into a seat. So we're just going to do a few seated poses before we wrap everything up. So finding the place between the sit bones and the lower spine. Bring the feet in towards you. Let the elbows come to the inside of the knees and hook both toes. Find that balancing point between the sit bones and the lower spine, and then just lift the heels slightly away. Push the chest forward. We're going to go in and out of opposite legs, stretching and then releasing. So I'll mirror image you, lift and straighten through the left leg, and then bring that left foot back to meet the right. Same on the right side. All the time trying to find that balance. We're going to do 3 on both sides. And release. We've got 2 more to go. Straighten with your left. Bring it back into a bend. Straighten with your right. And back into a bend. 1 more both sides. Straighten. Really good for core because you're holding your balance. And back to the center. This time hold your left leg straight. Hold it there for a couple of breaths. Trying again not to go into hyperextension if the leg hasn't come fully straight and your range of movement is only to this position. So long as you can feel it at the back of the leg, that's all good. Bring that foot back. And we're going to do the same on the other side to hold. And bring it back. So choice, we're going to take it into both legs straightening. If that doesn't feel comfortable, just go opposite legs again. If you're coming with me, straighten both legs, pushing the heels away. Toes back to the shins and pushing those chests forward. Just another breath in this hold. If you want to take it onto the other side, if you're doing singular legs, take it to the other side for a couple of breaths. I'll just hold it here if you're taking singular legs. And then release back out wherever you are. So I'm mirror imaging you again. Left heel comes into the groin and the right leg straightens out to the side. Toes of that right foot back to the shins. Right hand comes to the inner right thigh. Left hand reaches up to the ceiling and then start to lateral flex towards that right leg with that left hand. If you can take a hold of the toes, feel free to grab a hold of the toes. Keep that chest open to the front, your left shoulder stacking on top of that right shoulder, squeezing the toes back, engaging the upper right thigh to push that right knee into the floor, getting back into those hamstrings again, but also a side stretch down that left side waist, into maybe that lower left side of the back. Come back to center. Let's take a twist. So bringing your right hand to the left knee and just twist around towards that left side of the room. Coming back to center, swap over the legs. So straightening out your left leg and bringing your right foot into the groin. Your left hand to the inner left thigh, toes of the left foot up towards the ceiling. Reach your right hand up and then over towards that left leg. Maybe take a hold of the toes, feeling that stretch down that right side waist and into that lower right back. Engaging that upper left thigh to push that knee into the floor to get into the hamstrings. Keep the chest open, lateral flexioning through that spine to that left side of the room, keeping that right knee encouraged down towards the mat or somewhere close. One more breath here. Then come back to centre, bringing your left hand onto your right knee, your right hand behind, and just take a little baby twist. Bring yourself back to centre, straighten both legs out. It would be wrong not to finish on a both legs straight forward fold. So breath in, reach up with the arms, and on your out breath, fold from the hips. Bring the hands to wherever they reach. It may be the shins, it may be the ankles, it may be the feet. Just getting as full a body stretch as you can. Breathing in deeply, an elongation, breathing out. A long, easy breath. Maybe just let that head hang. Release any tension you're holding in the neck. Full spinal stretch. Full hamstring, calf and Achilles stretch. So getting into all of that posterior chain as we take the folds. Then lift the shoulders up. So we're going to have one last activation of those hamstrings. So turning the fingers out, take a bend into both knees. We're going to find ourselves a reverse tabletop. So push into the feet, push into the hands, lift up with the hips to as high as you can take them. And then feel like you're drawing those heels back towards the back of the mat like we did in the bridge pose at the beginning. Just a last little bit of activation through those hamstrings. And then lower those bums back to the floor. Straighten both legs out. Arms come out shoulder height. And then slowly lower all the way down to the mat. To take ourselves a few moments in relaxation, bringing the hands down by the sides of the body, lift up with the hips, tuck the tailbone down, widen the feet to the edges of the mat, or if you've got another preferred comfortable relaxation position, feel free to go there. Let those fingers gently curl as the palms face up. Maybe have a little rock of the head from side to side. Bring it back to the centre where it's comfortable space at the back of the head. Take a nice long deep breath in. And a long sigh out through the mouth. Close the eyes, relax all the facial muscles. All the muscles through the torso, the upper limbs, lower limbs. And just take these few moments just to consolidate everything we've done throughout the last 45 minutes, working hamstrings into stretch and strengthen. Some awareness back into those fingers, into those toes. Maybe bringing some movement into the wrists and the ankles. Maybe you bring some movement into the knees and the elbows, maybe finding a full body stretch, stretching the hands up and over the head, through the fingers, the toes, maybe arching into that lower back. And then bringing the hands back up and over, bringing the knees in towards the chest, maybe just have a little rock of that body from side to side. And then rolling over onto your side. Just take a moment there, take a nice deep breath in. Long breath out. And then pushing into the hand to lift up with the body, finding a seat. Cross-leg position. Hands on top of the thighs. Take a breath in. Reach the hands up and over the head. And on your out breath, bring the hands to the chest. Soft gaze to the floor. Have peace in your thoughts, your words, your hearts. From my heart to yours. Namaste.